Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are doing great. Welcome to the day two of the AA Game Changer webinar for the June 2026 exam window. My name is Ahmed, and I really hope so that you enjoyed the last night's session. If not, well, don't worry. Um, Once I'm done with this session, I will share the recording of the previous session through the WhatsApp groups. Okay, just like the last night, I will be dividing this particular session into different parts. And tonight, I've got four parts. The first part will last just 5 minutes, where I will just briefly make you realize that what things you need to avoid in order to pass the paper and what is the exam format. Part two, I will just spend another 3 to 4 minutes and I will make you realize what is my uh, secret recipe through which you can actually pass the paper in the upcoming days with the help of the remaining days, which is called the AA revision plan. In the third part, I will discuss the syllabus area C along with marking scheme and the drafting techniques. And in the fourth and the final part, I will be discussing a past paper question relevant to the syllabus area C, and that past paper question will be a very recent question which you will not find in the exam kit because it's a latest question from December 2025. Let's not waste any further time and let's straight away go towards the part A of the tonight session, which should not last more than 5 to 6 minutes. So my name is Ahmed, and I'm sure just like me, all of you have got one thing in mind, and that is Monday, 1st June 2026. And I really hope so that together we can ensure that it is going to be a winning day for both of us. If that has to happen, you need to join the AA revision batch, which is an exclusive batch for the last 3 weeks. So it basically started day before yesterday, but I am assuming that it is going to start from today. So you need to hop in and you need to click on the enrollment link and you need to join the batch immediately. And if you wish to join the batch, well, what you have to do is you have to check out the chat box. If you will check out the chat box, I've posted the link, and with the help of that link, you can actually join my batch within no time. So basically, it's a direct link. Okay. Then let's move forward. Yes, I introduced myself yesterday, so let's leave that part. Yes, we had a discussion that these are the recent position holders for the paper AA followed by AAA, and they cover, significant portion of the planet Earth. So from Spain to India, we are present all over the place. VIFHE has got students in 146 countries. So yes, this is a great news which I received hardly 48 to 72 hours ago. She made all of us proud by scoring a massive 78. So she is a rank holder in India and she got the position in AAA. Now, moving forward towards the pass rates, yes, we had a discussion yesterday that the pass rates of AA are tricky, they are challenging, but yes, I've got the strategies through which you can actually nail the paper and you can actually ace your exam on Monday, 1st June 2026 in flying colors. So it's not going to be a big deal. Please give me a second, please. Now, there are 5 syllabus areas in the AA course. Tonight, we will be focusing on syllabus area C. Mind you, yesterday we discussed syllabus area B, audit risk. Tonight, we'll be focusing on syllabus area C, internal controls. And in the next week, I will be having 3 exclusive live sessions apart from the recorded content where I will be discussing syllabus area D, procedures, along with syllabus area E, completion, review, and reporting. The format is a challenging one. And if you want to crack the paper in flying colors, you need to pay respect to the section A of your exam. How can you pay respect to the section A of your exam? Well, Daily attend my lectures and solve 3 Section A OT cases from Kaplan Kit. Daily attend my lectures and solve the questions by yourself, and then attend my lectures using the ACCA Study Hub content, and then do the same for the BPP kit as well. If you will start this practice even from tomorrow, not day after tomorrow, if you will start that practice from tomorrow, you can still finish off all the Section A OT cases once over the next 13 days. So it means you will still have an opportunity to go for the round 2. And if you will solve all those OT cases, including my lectures, 2 times, I'm sure you will end up scoring 24 or more out of 30, which means you will pass the paper in flying colors. Last couple of minutes before we actually finish off this particular part. Why students fail this paper? Well, unfortunately, many AA students will only rely on concepts and knowledge, and they will not actually do the thing called exam practice. And overall, their poor typing speed and lack of exam practice will make them pay the price at the end of the day. If you want to pass the paper, well, practice my top 30 questions and lectures twice each. If you are a full-time student, I would say go for 3 times each, especially if you are not having English as your first language. So if English language is your not first language and you're a full-time student, I think you should not make any compromise. Go for thrice each. Well, I already mentioned this particular thing today, and I emphasized it a lot last night, that how to pass the paper in flying colors with the help of the Section A of your exam. I think I gave a solid plan. All the lectures are available within the VIFHE LMS. Pay respect to the bookish knowledge. I'll be paying respect to the bookish knowledge in the tonight session. Exam technique is important. I will be discussing the exam technique in relation to the syllabus area D substantive procedures over the next week. Well, definitely we should pay respect to the minor areas during the exam preparation. In the today's lecture, I will pay respect to the bookish knowledge. I will pay respect to the minor areas. Last but surely not the least, you got to attempt the mock exam, and trust me on that, your mock exam will be critically marked, not just the total marks. You will eventually get to know what mistakes you have committed, and more importantly, what things you need to improve over the next 4 to 5 days, and eventually you will pass the paper. So this is it. I am done with the part 1 of the tonight's lecture, and I think we should straight away move forward towards the part 2 of the tonight's lecture. What about part 2? Let's check out what do we have for the part 2. Part 2 is about the AA revision plan, including my top 30 CRQs for the June 2026 exam window. So yes, 7th May was the webinar day 1 on audit risk. 8th May is the webinar day 2 on controls, followed up by 3 important lectures on substantive procedures. So in this way, with the help of these 5 lectures, let's call it a very good revision for the entire syllabus. Apart from that, if you will join my AA revision batch, you will have access to all important lectures starting from syllabus area A to E. And more importantly, you will have access to the top 10 CRQs on audit risk, which covers the minor topics and the bookish knowledge as well. Similarly, top 10 CRQs on controls, followed up by top 10 CRQs on syllabus area D and E. Well, any important instruction? Yes, there are three instructions which are very important. Each and every question must be typed twice, so that you can actually absorb the drafting technique, so that you could actually retain the knowledge and the key words and the phrases. So that's the important instruction number 1. And if you're a full-time student, go for the thrice. Important instruction number 2, you got to start solving OT cases. Please do not assume that if you are damn good in CRQs, you will do wonderful in the OT cases. No, that's a wrong assumption. And this assumption is the mother of all the failures. So don't go for it. Start solving 9 OT cases per day, 3 from Kaplan, and then watch my lecture on the same. three from Study Hub, and then watch my lectures on the same. So in this way, you can actually score a great number in the section A of the exam, which will eventually make you cross the line comprehensively. Third and the final instruction is relevant to the mock exam. Well, initially, I decided 19th May as your final mock exam, and I believe well, some of the AAA students, they asked me to conduct the mock exam on 17th Sunday rather than 19th Tuesday. So it's the ball is in your court. Through my WhatsApp group, I will formally decide the date probably after a couple of days. It's either going to be 17th or 19th. So yeah, this is it. These are the three important instructions, and I'm done with the part two. What are those three important instructions? Type each and every question after attending my lecture on the same at least twice or ideally thrice, including the bookish knowledge and the minor topics. Instruction number two, do not compromise on OT cases. My lectures relevant to the OT cases are superb because they discuss not just the incorrect option, sorry, not just the correct option, but also the incorrect options. And I always try and discuss why this option is incorrect. Third and the final instruction is don't miss the mock exam. And as a result of that, you will not regret the June 2026 exam window. I'm done with the second part, and now I should move towards the third and the final, third and the fourth part, which will be interrelated with each other. But before I actually move towards the third part, let me just quickly sneak the chat box. I have a doubt in audit risk. Is it compulsory to write two auditors' response or one is response is enough? If one response is complete and comprehensive and it actually delivers the message, well, in that case, you are not supposed to write two or three responses. Sometimes ACCA's official answers would end up writing two or three responses because all of them are appropriate. Okay. Uh, Good evening. And no, the for each and every course at VIFHE, all the tutors tend to conduct 2 days of webinar. We call it webinar, and those webinars um, are publicly available. But apart from that, throughout this quarter for the June 2026 exam window, we had multiple live sessions. I think the first live session was about audit risk. Then the second live session was about OT cases. I think the third live session was again about OT cases. Fourth live session, I think it was about controls. So there were multiple live sessions which already happened, and multiple live sessions will happen after this. I'm not talking about these two sessions. Before and after this session, there were multiple live sessions for the June 2026 exam window. So all the regular resit and the revision batch students will have access to those lectures. Even if you missed something, the recording would be available through the LMS. So really sorry, the upcoming three live sessions, which are going to be extremely important for the syllabus area D and E, substantive procedures, those will be for the enrolled students. Can you please share Kaplan Kit OT cases? I didn't understand. Can you please share Kaplan Kit OT cases? What do you mean? How do I share? Like the PDF, the lecture, what? I hope the mock exam is scheduled for 17th May. Okay. If that is the case, let's go for it. No, I can't share the PDF. Also in ethics, if one scenario leads to 2-3 threads, do we need to mention all of them or one? No, one is enough. For example, contingent fee that leads to self-interest and advocacy, but standard solution contains only one. First of all, contingent fee does not create advocacy threat. First of all, this question itself is incorrect. Fiza, are you part of my batch? I don't think so. Yes. Contingent fee only creates self-interest threat. Who told you that it creates advocacy threat as well? Advocacy threat means as an auditor, I'm taking side of the client. I'm promoting the interest of the client. Sir, where can we get previous session? Once you have joined the batch, either the regular or the reset or the revision course batch plan, I'm sure everyone is going to join revision course batch because it's significantly discount. So once you join the batch, go to the live practice session. The recordings are available for all the past sessions. Sir, how to get BPP kit? Well, I am not sure how to get BPP kit. Maybe through the BPP website. I'm not sure. Okay. When is the yesterday webinar going to be available? Once you are done with this live session, keep an eye on your relevant WhatsApp group. I will personally share the link over there. Okay. Is it okay? Sir, those who do not enroll, they are not enabled for upcoming there are 2 days of webinars only, yesterday and today. For the upcoming lectures, no, only enrolled students will have access to that. So for those who paid for the webinar, have to pay again for the revision classes. You paid for the webinar? No, webinars are for free. What do you mean you paid for the webinar? Guys, I need more productive questions in the chat box. Come on. Okay, I've got a question in the chat box. What about substantive procedures? What about it? Please elaborate your question. Okay, I've got an interesting question from Mitran. Sir, most of the OT cases comes from which section? Okay, if you attended my section A of the exam, sorry, if you attended the day one of the webinar, I think I emphasize a lot on this thing that section A, the OT cases can come from any syllabus area. But over the recent period of time, over the recent exam windows, I've experienced that corporate governance and ethics, it is a very, very highly examinable area in the section A of the exam. And substantive procedures along with completion review and reporting. So D and E is also a very hot cake. Relatively, risk and controls tend to be tested on a very lower side, but anything can be tested. Sir, the contact that generates AI response was asking for the fee to be paid. Fee to be paid for what? Fee to be paid for what? For the webinars? It's impossible. Eh, the registration is for free. No. Did you pay for the webinars? Fiza Shabir, did you pay for the webinars? Is there anyone? No, that fee is for the revision course, not for the webinars. Webinars are for free. Fiza, you are considering the fact you knew it's for free and you actually are attending the webinar. The webinars are for free. Okay, I'm going to shut down the chat box for now. How much emphasis is to be given to the what's MCQ? Okay, OT cases. Last time I got 18 in section A and 0 in section B, attempting full 100 marks and 0 in section B. You need to contact me through the WhatsApp text. To solve OT cases, shall we have to read the study text or the study up? If I have to be brutally honest with you, if you are thinking to start this journey today, honestly speaking, you don't have good enough time to finish off the Kaplan study text or the studied hub. Better idea would be directly solve one OT case and then attend my lecture on the same. That is going to be a far efficient approach rather than going through the entire study text. You're too late for that. Okay, guys, this is it. Enough for the chat box. Let me go for the third part of the tonight's session. Is it important to study Kaplan study text or just bookish knowledge PDF is enough? If you are thinking to start your Kaplan study text from today, you are late. It's better to focus on my revision plan and focus on top 30 questions and my lectures where I've covered the drafting techniques and the marking schemes. And just attend important lectures which are part of the revision batch. Sir, please continue, and question about revision classes can be at the end of the session, please. Yes, you are absolutely right. Sir, in some question of Kaplan question asking for good control and deficiency, some contain controls mixed. Okay, Umar, to be very honest, I did not read your entire message. Give me 30 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, and then if you are not clear, repost your question, okay? But I'm sure after 15 to 20 minutes, I will automatically address your question. Is it okay? Okay, guys, thank you. That's great. Thank you. Finally, some good news. Okay, sir. Thank you. That's great. Let's move forward. Okay, one last question before I actually move forward. Sir, I scored 48 last attempt despite of scoring 68 in pre-mock. Tell me one thing. Which pre-mock? The pre-mock published by ACCA or my mock exam? But I mean to say, did I give you 68 and you ended up failing the paper? Okay, I knew it. This is not the case. I knew it. I don't like ACCA pre-mock. They always come up with questions and answers without the relevant report. There are sometimes mistakes in the pre-mock as well. Most importantly, they always rewrite the same old question. I always give something else as a mock exam. And more importantly, I want to know, okay, fine, you attempted the ACCA pre-mock. How did you manage to score 68? Like, I mean, how did you figure it out that your score is 68? How did you figure it out that your final score is 68? Oh, I got it checked by an ISDC faculty. I'm not sure what ISDC is. Are you sure your mock was marked by the tutor? And second question, this is my first question. Are you sure? Are you dead sure? Second question, did you just receive your total score 68 along with some generic comments, keep it up, very good, need to improve, or were you actually, you had realization that this is why I lost the mark over here. This is why I lost the mark over here. So did you receive some commentary and comments and feedback for every part, not for every question, not for the entire mock exam, for each and every point? So at the end, once you received your mark script, were you absolutely clear why you lost 32 marks? That's the difference. That's why I know if you will be part of my batch and if you will attempt my mock exam, I know you will pass the paper. I can bet publicly right now. So, Sadaf, I'm not sure what are you up to. Join the revision batch, and I can bet anything you will pass the paper provided you will attempt my mock exam and you will feel the difference. Once you will receive your mark script, you will still have 5 to 6 days and you will realize, okay, I need to sort this, and I will pass. 68 scored by my student in the mock usually end up scoring 74 or 75 in the final exam. I have got even stories where my student scored 32 in the mock and his or her final score was 34, 35, 32. I've got stories. My student scored 41 and final score was 43. My student scored 62 and final score was 64. Yes, 20% students tend to get a jump because they learn from their mistakes. Last, let me tell you, few moments ago, I told you that one of my AAA student, Akankisha Agarwal, she scored 78. In her interview, she said I scored 68 in the mock. And then I worked on my weaker areas after getting the feedback, and she ended up scoring 78. How is it possible that you scored 68? And okay, fine, you scored 68 in the mock. You can actually end up scoring 62 in the final exam. Okay, 58. But less than 50? That's not possible. That mock was not marked appropriately. Sir, please keep the mock exam on the weekend. Well, in that case, it is going to be on 17th. We will discuss this issue privately in the WhatsApp group, okay? Not over here. The date, it's either 17th or 19th. The Okay? Okay. Period. Now, end of the discussion. Don't use the chat box now, guys. At least give me some time. I need to move forward. And before I actually move forward, let me tell you, if you are my regular batch student for June or for September 2026, if you are my recent batch student for June or for September, or if you are going to be part of my June revision course starting from today, you will not be treated as indifferently. Everyone will be considered as same. I will not discriminate everyone. For me, every student is same. and everyone will be given the opportunity to attempt the mock exam. Everyone will receive the mock script. Everyone will have an opportunity to bounce back after the mock exam. And that is why I will keep the mock exam way earlier, so that you could actually get the feedback over the next 5 to 6 days. On 25th, probably on 25th May, we'll have the mock debrief session. Still, you will have opportunity to rise and shine. Do you recommend changing tutors at this point of time? Well, Fiza, you have already changed the tutor. You have already changed the tutor, because if not, if you are so satisfied and so confident about your current exam preparation, then there was no point of attending last night's session, and there is no point of attending this session. So you have already changed it. Let me consider you as my student, okay? Let me own your result. I want to own your result, and I'm sure it's going to be a great one. There, double A is not difficult. Double A just need a smarter approach. Okay, so go for the revision course, Fiza. Go for the revision course. Guys, let's start something which is very important, and it's called Syllabus Area C, which has got internal audit and internal controls. Now, a disclaimer from my side. I will not going to be, I cannot and I should not go into 100% detail of this topic. I hope everyone out there who's listening to me live or recorded, you do realize that I've got limited time. I'm done with the two parts of this session, and I need to move forward towards the fourth part. And the fourth part is going to be a recent past paper question. So that is why the third part cannot be and should not be a comprehensive one. But let me touch few basics. For the details, obviously you have got the VIFHE LMS and you've got the detailed lecture. Now, what is Syllabus Area C? Syllabus Area C is about internal audit along with internal controls. Let's exclude and let's ignore internal audit, and let's focus on internal controls. Internal controls or internal control systems. Those systems are not tangible systems. These are policies and procedures. These are the rules and regulations. These are the do's and the don'ts. So those policies and procedures, rules and regulations, do's and don'ts, they are called systems. And because they are developed by management internally, designed internally, implemented by themselves, these are called internal. And because the objective is to minimize the risk of fraud and error, that is why it's called internal control system. There is a reason behind those policy and procedures. So internal control systems are the policies and procedures designed by management in order to ensure that the incidents of fraud and errors are minimized. Now, the good news is there are 6 internal control systems in the syllabus. Your examiner can test 1 out of 6, or probably examiner will test 2 or 3 out of 6. Examiner cannot practically test all the 6 systems in a single exam window. You got to prepare each and every system. I personally believe until or unless a student has prepared 3 questions per system, he or she cannot be absolutely well prepared for the topic. Bare minimum 2 questions, 2 CRQs per system. That's a bare minimum. Now, the burning question is, what kind of exam requirement you are going to face relevant to internal control systems? What is going to be the exam format? What's the marking scheme? Forget about the coloring scheme that I use for making my student understand the assignments and much more. Let's talk about the exam requirements. So when you will attempt your final exam on Monday, 1st June 2026, or even when you will attempt my mock exam, Whether your name is Fiza, whether your name is Jonita, whether your name is Afaf, whether your name is Ahmed, everyone, everyone will face this kind of exam requirement in the exam. First of all, for the syllabus area C, internal controls, you might face some straightforward bookish knowledge. Pretty soon, after 15 to 20 minutes, I will show you one or two straightforward bookish knowledge questions relevant to the same. And then everyone will face scenario based questions. What do I mean by scenario based question? For example, for audit risk, the examiner says, using the information, identify and explain 8 audit risk and 8 auditors response. I call it the scenario based question because you have to use the information. Well, with the similar logic, for the syllabus area C, examiner will ask you, using the information provided, identify and explain 8 deficiencies in the company's system. Now, what do I mean by deficiency? Deficiency means a weakness. Who designs and implements those internal controls? Management. So that deficiency is going to create a problem for the management. If there will be deficiencies in the system, as a result of that, frauds and errors can actually go unnoticed and company would end up facing losses. Company would end up facing loss of goodwill, loss of financial values, loss of so many things. Okay, once you have identified and explained 8 deficiencies, examiner will ask you to provide 8 recommendations. For audit risk, you were supposed to write what auditor needs to do now. We call it auditor's response. For deficiencies, you need to write your recommendation. Now, what do I mean by recommendation? As an auditor, I am not the one who's going to design and implement the system. But once I will evaluate those systems, if I will identify a deficiency, I should give management a recommendation. Recommendation means a solid advice based on practical things which can actually address the deficiency, which can actually overcome the deficiency. So I will give them recommendations so that those deficiencies can be resolved. I will not implement that thing. I will just give recommendation in writing to the management. Recommendation means against a weak or a poor control, as an auditor, as a third party, as an independent, experienced individual, as an outsider, I will recommend a good control, which will overcome the poor control. So that's your first possible exam requirement. But the bad news is there is another possible exam requirement. Examiner might ask you, identify and explain 6 deficiencies along with 6 recommendations. That's pretty normal. This is what scenario 1 is. But along with that, you got to assume that those 6 recommendations which you recommended in order to overcome the deficiency, you got to assume that the client has actually implemented your recommendation. You got to assume that in your mind. So imagine if the client has actually implemented those recommendations which you as an auditor recommended. How will you trust or how will you verify whether those recommendations have actually been implemented? Well, there is one way, and that is test. Test of what? Are you going to test the financial statements? No, I will apply test of controls. I recommended control. Now I will test the control. Please try and understand how these three things are interconnected. I will identify and explain the deficiency in the control system. I will recommend an action which will overcome that deficiency. And then I will apply a test of control so that I could verify whether now control is operating correctly, effectively, or not. So that's your second possible question. Let's go for the third possible question before we actually finish off. Now, the third possible question is, examiner might ask you by giving you a piece of information about the sales system or the purchase system that you got to identify and explain rather than the deficiencies. You got to identify and explain, for example, five direct controls. Five direct controls, also known as five key controls, also known as five good controls. It is effectively opposite of deficiency. So as an auditor, if I will read the information relevant to my audit client in relation to the sales system, there is a possibility I might end up finding four deficiencies. But at the same time, it is also possible that I might end up finding four good controls. So examiner will test you in both ways. Examiner can ask you to identify and explain, for example, five direct controls, also known as key controls, also known as good controls. Now, if it is already a good control, are you going to recommend the management something or anything in writing? Obviously, no. It is already a good control. So there is no point of recommending something. Well, in that case, you will straight away jump towards another exam requirement, which examiner will mention, and that is write the test of control. So if it's a deficiency, check out the scenario one. If it's a deficiency, examiner will ask for the recommendation. If it's the direct control, examiner will ask for the test of control. But there is a possibility, check out the scenario two. Examiner might ask you for five deficiencies along with five recommendations, and against those recommendations, five test of controls. So examiner could come up with scenario one, which is the most common exam requirement, deficiencies along with recommendations. Examiner could come up with scenario three, which is direct controls along with test of controls. An examiner could come up with a triplet, that is seven deficiencies, well, most likely six deficiencies, along with six recommendations, along with six test of controls. I hope this is clear. Now, before I actually move forward, I just need confirmation. Is it clear to everyone? I can't see your shared screen. My screen is visible to everyone? Okay. My audio is clear to everyone. Can I have multiple yes on that? Okay, we are sorted. Absolutely clear and absolutely loving it. Okay, that's great. So, guys, I'm not done. I'm not done. Hang on. I really hope so. Let's take a break for 30 seconds and let that sink in. So, as a double A student, when you will attempt my mock exam, or for that matter, when you will attempt your ACCA final exam, you might face Section A OT cases relevant to syllabus area C. You will definitely face a straightforward bookish knowledge relevant to the syllabus area C. There are approximately 7 to 8 possibilities when it comes to straightforward bookish knowledge questions relevant to syllabus area C internal controls. But for this particular lecture, the real focus is when you will attempt your exam, you can actually face either the scenario one or the scenario two or the scenario three. In scenario one, deficiencies along with recommendation. So eight deficiencies along with eight recommendations, 16 marks. Scenario three, eight direct controls along with eight tests of controls, it means 16 marks, or maybe five direct controls, five tests of controls, 10 marks. And the most important one, well, scenario two, the most important one, for example, six deficiencies, 6 marks, six recommendations, 6 marks, six test of controls, another 6 marks. So that these are the possibilities with respect to your exam requirement. And I'm sure everyone is absolutely clear about it. So I should move forward. I need to skip a lot of content. Skip, 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 skip. The detailed lecture is available through the LMS. I need to move towards something. Okay, guys, when you will attempt your paper, examiner will ask you to use the information and explain, for example, 8 deficiencies. Now, if you attended my last night's lecture, I said identify the audit risk from the question paper. If you want to type it on your own, keep it very brief. If you want to use the copy paste technique, you are absolutely allowed by the ACCA. Now comes the syllabus area C. Examiner will ask you to identify and explain the control deficiency. So you need to identify the deficiency from the question paper. You cannot assume or imagine deficiencies on your own. It is not something which is rote learned. You need to pick up the deficiency from the question paper. And yes, you can use minimum words or you can use the copy paste technique. Now, the burning question is there any common checklist which I can use for the sake of identifying the deficiencies from the question paper? Yes. If you read the question and after reading the question, if you realize that segregation of duty is broken, it's compromised, or in simple language, I should say there is a clear indication of weak segregation of duty. Well, weak segregation of duty means more chances of frauds and errors going unnoticed. So that's your first possible deficiency. If I am a junior clerk and I'm involved in something which should have been done by a senior experienced individual, there are more chances of errors committed by the concerned individual because he or she is not senior enough. If a transaction, a purchase of non-current asset, something which is important is going through the system without the authorization of a senior person, well, it means it's an open invitation for the future frauds and errors to go unnoticed. So authorization is something, if it is missing, consider it as a deficiency. If my work which I performed was not reviewed by my senior. So I'm a clerk, my work was not performed or reviewed by the manager. Well, consider it as a deficiency because no review of work means the frauds and the errors can go unnoticed. I am calculating each and every employee's salary manually. Although all this could be executed through softwares, because I'm performing everything manually, there is going to be always a chance, a huge possibility that certain frauds or errors can go unnoticed. So it's about manual versus automation. If something could be automated, but still if the company is doing it manually without the rationale, well, consider it as a deficiency. Examiner will tell you that this activity is not performed in the company. For example, examiner might say that when once goods are received, the warehouse department, they check the quantity of the goods and match it with the match it with the delivery note, but they do not check it against the purchase order. Or the quantities are checked, but the quality is not checked. So examiner will tell you few things that this is not going on. So watch out for the word no or not in the question. Examiner will tell you something about the deficiency. Documents, for example, good receive note must have 4 copies. What if examiner will tell you that there are only 3 copies? One of the copy is retained by the warehouse. One of the copy is sent back to the one of the copy is sent to the customer. One of the copy would go back to the accounts department, and one of the copy needs to go to the sales department as well. So what if the documents are not sequentially numbered? What if the documents are not in the sufficient quantity? So documentational issues, watch out for these things. This is according to my experience and my past paper analysis. These are the most common deficiencies in any AA past paper question. When you will identify the deficiency from the question, you will eventually score half mark. But in order to fetch complete 1 mark, you need to prove your point, just like the last lecture. Why is it a deficiency? If it is a deficiency, it will create problems leading towards negative impact on the business. So you need to write a solid sentence or maybe two. Why is it a deficiency? How it is going to create problems for the company and how it will affect the business, whether it will affect the company's future sales, whether it will shoot up the company's cost, whether it will affect the company's goodwill or reputation, whether it will create problems with respect to relationship with the suppliers or customers, whether it will create problems in maintaining good relationships with the employees. So you need to write why is it a problem and what negative impact it will create for the business. And that is how you will score your 1 complete mark. Loss of future sales, loss of customer goodwill, cash flow problems, increase in cost. These are the common impact on business. Now, the examiner would ask you to write the recommendation as well. Recommendation means give me a suggestion how to overcome the deficiency. Recommendation is the opposite of control deficiency. So if a client has got a deficiency in the sales system, you are supposed to give them the solution which they should implement. You're not going to implement, they will implement. So controlled recommendation must have sufficient detail and the recommendation must be exactly in line with the deficiency itself. So do not just repeat the deficiency. As I always say, what if a question says there is no security guard outside the bank? As a result of that, some unauthorized criminals could enter and they could have uh, a huge, you know, uh, a huge episode where they will snatch and steal everything away. So I've discussed the deficiency, I've explained it. Now, a poor recommendation would be there should be a security guard outside the bank. The deficiency says there is no security guard, and the recommendation says there should be a security guard. No, do not just repeat the deficiency, try to add value. There has to be a security guard outside the bank, and he should be a qualified expert individual in the field of security, and he or she should be equipped with the necessary tools such as guns and cameras. See, I've tried to add value. On top of that, maybe there should be some security surveillance through the CCTV cameras as well. So try to add value. Give some when it should be performed. The guard should be there 24 by 7 and they should work in shifts. Frequency. So these are the things which can actually make you score 1 complete mark by writing a good recommendation. Okay, then what? Give me a second. Okay, wait a second. Okay, now the examiner could ask you for the key controls. Guys, the key controls or the direct controls are exactly the opposite of deficiencies. For the key controls or the direct controls, you will appreciate rather than criticize. For the deficiency, you need to criticize, right? So the key controls are exactly the opposite of the deficiencies, and you will not say this could result in, this could lead to a problems. You will explain this minimizes the risk of, this reduces the risk of, this ensures that. So just like the deficiency, you need to explain the direct control as well. I am not focusing much on direct controls in this lecture only because my today's lecture is not about direct controls. What about test of controls? Test of controls. Who is going to apply test? The auditor. What I'm trying to test? The controls. Who implemented, who designed the control? The management. Who implemented the control? The management. Maybe I gave them the recommendation, but maybe those systems were completely designed and implemented by the management themselves. I am supposed to apply test of control. So test of control means an action will be applied by the auditor. The reason is I want to know whether control is operating effectively or not. So maybe I will inquire the management. Maybe I will observe the process and the activity just to make sure they are actually following the procedures. Maybe I will enter some dummy data into the client software just to see whether the software is going to process the data correctly and accurately or not. And remember, I said there has to be some documentational controls, such as evidence in the form of signatures, such as sequential review, such as 4 copies of good received note. So I can always select a sample of documents and I will look up to for the sequential review. I will make sure there are no sequential gaps. For sequential review, if the sequential review was performed by the senior clerk, I will look for the authorized signatures. So these are the test of controls. Test of control means an action which the auditor will apply in order to figure it out whether the controls are operating effectively or not. Now I want to move towards the fourth and the final part of the today's lecture. But before I actually move forward towards the fourth and the final part, let me quickly check out the chat box. New customers obtained by the sales team are required to undergo. Uh, only piece of the screen is- A sales department is handling the credit check and credit limit is should be carried by controller. New customers obtained by the sales team are required to undergo a full credit check. On the basis of this, a credit limit is proposed by the sales staff. Proposed by the sales staff, but approved by the director. It's a great control. Everything is superb. Umar, your message is a direct message, so nobody else will be able to get any benefit out of it. So I'm going to come up with a short answer. It's a direct control because sales team, they know the grassroots realities. They are the ones who are going to interact with the customer. They know the market realities. So they should be the one, those who are going to propose the credit limit. But ultimately, some senior has to make the final decision. It's a direct control. Sir, what should be the first one word to start recommendation or test of control like auditor should be? No, there is no such one word or something which you can always use. For the control deficiency, you can say this could result in, this could, and for the direct controls, you can say this will ensure that. So check out my notes and check out my drafted answer for the same. Guys, it's time for me to move forward towards the fourth and the final part. But before I actually move towards the fourth and the final part, can I have yes from each one of you that we should move towards the fourth and the final part? We should move towards a question called Quickie Company, which is September, December 2025. Are you absolutely clear for the syllabus area C? Should we go forward towards a past paper question? Okay, so I've got 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 2. Okay, so I've got at least 25 to 30% yes. So yes, I think, okay, we've got multiple yes. So that's great. I think we should move forward now. I've got a question in the chat box. Sir, what about SP? I mean, what about substantive procedures? Alina, please elaborate your question. What about substantive procedure? Like, what about it? What are you trying to ask? That is going to be on 12th, 13th, and 14th of May. 12th, 13th, and 14th of May for the revision batch students. Okay. Is it okay? Okay. Thank you very much. This scenario relates to 5 requirements. This seems to be a painful news. So it means there are 5 exam requirements within that one CRQ. 5 exam requirement within one CRQ. Many AA students would feel overwhelmed when they will get to know that there are 5 sub questions within that one CRQ. But to be very honest, I'm feeling so relieved and so happy when I came to know that there are 5 different requirements. 4 5 requirements means you have got a greater opportunity to score a massive number out of this question. Now, this is from September, December 2025. Let me jump towards the exam requirement number A first. Exam requirement number A says, explain why the auditor obtains an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit. There are 2 marks, so you need to come up with 2 solid points as a bare minimum. You can even write 3 points if you are unsure about your first point. But if you're sure about your first and the second point, there is no point of writing the third. Note says you do not need to refer to the scenario to answer this requirement. It means it's a straightforward bookish knowledge, and 90% students, I will not say they will fail this part. I will say 90% students will not even attempt this part. Explain. Don't just give me a bullet point. Explain why the auditor is always interested in the client's internal control systems. Why that understanding is important. Internal controls are of great interest for auditors all around the globe, because if through the understanding of internal controls, auditor might realize which areas of internal control systems are significantly strong and which areas are vulnerable, because the vulnerable areas of internal controls will eventually lead to multiple control failures, which eventually leads to multiple incidents of risk and frauds, and that leads to a higher risk of material misstatement in the financial statement. So as an auditor, I am highly interested in understanding the internal controls because it will give me some indication in relation to the risk of material misstatement. I am interested in understanding the internal controls because as a result of that, I will design my procedures. I will come up with an audit strategy. I will consider how much reliance I need to place on the control system designed and implemented by the management. If the controls are superb, I can actually apply a lot of tests of controls and I can actually rely on the controls designed and implemented by the management. So please try and understand the control systems, the internal controls are very important for the auditor for the sake of efficient auditing. Once I will get to know that their controls in relation to sales purchase are superb, but their controls in relation to the payroll are weak, definitely I will come up with more and more procedures for payroll and relatively lower procedures or less number of procedures for sales and purchase. I hope this makes sense. Part 2 says, identify 2 methods. Don't explain, don't describe. Just identify 2 methods which an auditor could use to obtain. What do you want to obtain? An understanding of the company's system of internal control. Well, if you want to understand the company's internal control system, one of the way is walk through test or simply multiple tests of controls. Or one of the way is to go for the last year's report in relation to the controls. You will get to know what were the deficiencies last year. Get hold of the reports to the management, or maybe evaluate the work performed by the internal auditors during the year. That will give you a lot of understanding about the internal controls, because usually internal auditors are heavily focused on the internal controls. You need 2 points to score that 1 mark. Again, it is a question which is a straightforward bookish knowledge. Now, my double A students, they score such great number, and at VIFHE for double A and triple A, the pass rates are phenomenal. For double A, how my students tend to pass the paper, they will fetch 24 out of 30 in section A, and they will score 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 12 in such exam requirements. I call them straightforward bookish knowledge. So imagine you score 24 out of 30 in section A, and part A 3 marks, another CRQ 5 marks of bookish knowledge, another CRQ 3 marks of bookish knowledge. So overall 11 marks. So my student will end up scoring 8 out of 11, or maybe 9 out of 11, or maybe much more than that, maybe 10, maybe full. So even if I take 8 out of 12, so your score would be 24 plus 8, 32 out of 42. Now you need 18 out of 70 for a bare minimum 50. Your life becomes so convenient and your journey towards the success becomes so smooth if you will not just rely on the CRQs. You will start paying respect to the OT cases along with such straightforward bookish knowledge. Let's not go for the part B. Rather, I believe we should check out the solution of the part A first. So what do we have for the part A solution? Now let's check out the part part A, part 2 first. So as an auditor, I want to gain an understanding of the system of internal control. You can always carry out a review of the prior year audit file. Through the prior year audit file, you as an auditor will get to know that what were the weaknesses or what were the problems within the control system last year. You can actually get hold of those reports which auditor drafted in relation to the controls to the management. So review the reports to management from prior years, not just the last 1 year, from prior years. You can actually perform walkthrough tests. You can actually review the company's own accounting and procedures manual. Most importantly, I believe the fourth point is one of the most important. Why don't you evaluate the reports? Which reports? Which were produced by the internal audit department throughout the year. Because internal auditors, their scope of work, their scope is usually control systems. External auditor scope is financial statements. So why don't you check out their work? You will get to know a lot about the controls. So guys, we are officially done with the part A, part 2. Let's go for the part 1 of the part A. Why you are interested in gaining an understanding about the internal controls. This will assist the auditor. This will help the auditor in identifying the potential misstatement. Because once I will understand and once I will evaluate the control systems, I will get to know that which areas of financial statements are vulnerable. For example, as I mentioned earlier, if there are very good controls with respect to sales, purchase, and inventory, but very weak controls in relation to payroll, I will automatically apply more procedures for the payroll and less procedures for the other areas. Why I'm interested in understanding the internal controls, because if controls are adequately designed, auditor will apply test of controls and will rely on the controls and eventually will apply less substantive procedures. So as an let me give you another way around example. I am interested in gaining an understanding of your payroll system. Why? Because if I will get to know that your payroll system is poor, pathetic, and weak, I will not rely a lot on the controls. I will not apply much control test. Rather, I will go for full substantive approach because I know controls are weak, so I need to apply substantive procedures. Remember, if controls are great, we apply less substantive procedures. If controls are poor, we need to apply a lot of substantive procedures. So this, I hope I have invested 5 to 10 minutes on part A, part one, and part A, part two. I hope you can actually rewrite your answer and you can actually prepare yourself for the part A for the 3 marks. Okay, guys, let's go for the part B. But before I actually move towards the part B, let's quickly check out the part C. Describe substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in relation to the company's payroll expense. Payroll expense is a legit expense all over the world until or unless your company is heavily depending on robots. The wage cost, the payroll expense is one of the most significant expense. As an auditor, what kind of procedures you will apply so that you could figure it out whether the payroll expense is correct or not? Maybe you will make a comparison with the last year, and if there are unusual fluctuations, you need to investigate them. I'm talking about analytical procedure. For a sample of employees, including the directors, you can always recalculate certain payroll amounts. For the accruals, you can always check out the post year end bank statement and cash book in order to confirm the same amount was eventually paid. For certain number of employees, you can always look up to their service contract just to figure it out. The wage rate and the amounts are exactly in line with the relevant contractual laws and obligations. So these are the procedures, and you can always recalculate certain employees' wages from gross pay to net pay just to make sure that the payroll expense is accurate. So obviously, I am not going into the detail of part C because it's a completely different topic, but I think I've given you enough flavor of the part C. For 5 marks, you need to write 5 correct procedures to score 5 marks. You can write 6 procedures, you can write 7 procedures, but my honest recommendation would be take your time, plan your answer, and write solid 5 procedures. At the end of the exam, if you are still left with extra time, you can always write an extra or 2 extra procedures, but don't write extra control deficiency. Why? Because the question says identify and explain 6 deficiencies. So don't exceed. Before I actually go for the main event of the today's lecture, which is part B, I want to make you realize that how important and how comprehensive this question is. So the part A is about the straightforward bookish knowledge. The part B is about the main application based question, which is not that difficult. The part C is about substantive procedures from syllabus area D. So this is syllabus area C. This is also syllabus area C. Now this is syllabus area D. Now can you tell me what is this syllabus area? You have got 1 minute. Use the chat box and just let me know through by mentioning the. Oh, well, you can't exactly inquire anything in relation to the payroll. So, guys, what about syllabus area A? They to plan about the audit and devote appropriate time. Yes, this is one of the benefit of audit planning. This is not the correct answer. Better controls, less substantive testing needed. Wow, that's a very good comment. Sir, can you show knowledge-based answer on screen? Orally, it's confusing. Alina, are you clear now? Because eventually, once I explain my point, I actually did that. Are you clear now? I Are you clear now? Guys, this is one of the most challenging question because the part A and the part B is about syllabus area C, but the part C is about syllabus area D, And then out of nowhere, the part B is relevant to the syllabus area D. The part B is relevant to the syllabus, sorry, the part B is relevant to the syllabus area A. The syllabus area A is called ethics and corporate governance. Ethics and acceptance along with corporate governance. Now let's talk about corporate governance quickly. Well, the detailed lectures are available through the VIFHE LMS. Identify and explain two corporate governance deficiencies. So you will identify the deficiency from the question, but you got to, if you want to score full 1 mark, you got to explain why is it a problem. And then you need to write a recommendation to address that problem. Okay. All of you have got 2-3 minutes. Please read this entire portion. We will be discussing maybe the first one only because I need to focus on the part B. But I just quickly want to, actually, I want to make sure once you prepare the same question over the next 24 hours, you are confident and excited about all the parts, not just the part B. That's why I'm giving you flavors for each and every part. So my client is intending to list on a stock market in the next year. So they want to be a listed company in the next year. And therefore the company wants to ensure that they actually comply with corporate governance principles. Okay. So the company has been asked to review the current arrangements and identify any changes which will need to be made. Okay. As we speak right now, the board of my client, it comprises 5 executive directors, forget about the chairman, and 4 non-executive directors. Now, according to the best corporate governance principles, there has to be a balance between executive and non-executive directors. At least 50% non-executive directors has to be there, excluding the chairman within the board. So as we speak right now, there are 5 executive, excluding the chairman, 4 non-executive. It means executive directors are on the higher side. And as a result of that, I've identified the deficiency. There is no balance between the executive and non-executive director. I've scored my half mark. Let's explain. As a result of that, non-executive directors might not be in a position to constructively challenge the decisions made by the executive directors. They might not be in a position to stop and criticize wrong or incorrect strategic moves executed by the executive directors. So the recommendation would be, well, the company should at least hire 1 more non-executive directors just to make sure that there is a balance between executive and non-executive director in the board. So I'm done with my 2 marks because 1 recommendation, 1 deficiency fully explained along with 1 recommendation that will give you 2 marks. So examiner has asked you for 2 corporate governance deficiencies. I've scored 2 marks. Okay. Let's read the last paragraph. The company is proposing to establish an audit committee. Okay, we all know what audit committee is. It comprises of non-executive directors only. At least one of the non-executive director should have the relevant financial expertise. And okay, so the company is proposing an audit committee which will consist of 3 independent non-executive directors. And these non-executive directors are highly experienced in the industry in which the company operates. Before joining this company, they had senior roles in sales, manufacturing, and marketing. It means no member of the audit committee will have the relevant financial expertise. It means they might not challenge or they might not be in a position to perform the role of scrutiny and monitor the progress of financial statements. So my recommendation would be they need to hire an independent non-executive director for the role of audit committee, and they need to ensure that individual actually has the relevant financial expertise. So guys, when you will check out the solution for this particular question, you will get to know that according to the ACCA question and according to my drafted answer, there is not just one corporate governance deficiency, rather there are one, the balance between the chair, executive and non-executive director. Second, only two directors are subject to re-election. It means uh, it's going to be a very delayed process, not frequent enough. Third, lack of financial expertise within the audit committee, within the non-executive directors. Guys, let me tell you, you're not supposed to give this heading NED, lack of financial expertise, identification, copy paste, explain, why is it a threat? Now the question is why I have given those headings. Can you tell me? If there are no marks and if those headings are not recommended in the exam, then why the hell I'm doing it in the master file? Can you tell me using the chat box? There are no marks for that. Yes, thank you very much, because that makes your life easy. That makes you that makes your understanding better. You can have a good vision. You can absorb the answer in a much better way. Yes, for the clarity. Yes, for the easy understanding. Thank you very much for your kind words and for your active participation. That is lovely. So, guys, we are done with the part D as well. I think we are done with part A. We are done with part C about procedures. We are done with part D. This is me. My name is Ahmed, and I will be teaching you the knockout punches on procedures. There are multiple lectures, and new lectures are coming up as well. I think now I should move forward towards the main event before I actually sign off. And the main event is the part B. Guys, can we have a 2-3 minutes break before we start the last portion of this question, the $1 million question? 6 deficiencies, along with 6 recommendations, along with 6 tests of controls. In fact, uh, on your screen is the sales system. On your screen is the sales system. So it's a break of 3 minutes. If you want to have a break, you can have your break. Otherwise, go on and read the sales system and try and identify multiple deficiencies on your own. So I'll be back after 3 minutes. Guys, the question says you got to identify and explain 6 deficiencies. You will end up finding 7 or maybe 8. Do not write about all 7 or all 8. Stick to the exam requirement. Stick to 6 deficiencies only. Write about the best 6 which you are absolutely confident. So once you have identified and explained 6 deficiencies, you need to write 6 recommendations as well. And after 6 recommendations, you need to write 6 tests of controls. So this is a triplet, and this covers a lot of things with respect to your final exam or your possible exam requirements. So this is a brilliant question, and automatically when I see 6 word over here, it automatically means the total marks would be 6 multiplied by 3, 18 marks. So I asked all of you to go and check out the sales system. Each receivable clerk is responsible for the processing of sales transactions for a given set of customers. No problem with that. The clerk is responsible for processing of sale transaction. That's pretty normal all around the globe, and is able to make changes. Now comes the problem. So the receivable clerk is able, I will just use this portion. Each receiver or receivable clerks are able to make changes to these customer details in the master data file. And now imagine you are an auditor and you will get to know that the clerks are responsible for the processing of sale transaction. You will say it's okay. You will not consider it as a deficiency. You will say it's okay. You will test it, but it's not a deficiency on paper. But once imagine you are an auditor and you will get to know that the clerks are able to make changes in the customer master data file. Now this is a deficiency. Now why is it a deficiency? Because why is it a deficiency? Because there is a huge possibility that some of the clerks could end up making certain changes in the customer master data file accidentally or intentionally, which are not appropriate. For example, they might change the billing address. For example, they might change the credit limits. For example, they might change the bank details. So this is how I will explain the deficiency. That considering the fact that the clerks have got the authority to make such changes in the master file, in the not the master file, in the master data file, there is a possibility they could end up making amendments by accident or intentionally, such as changing the bank details or the address or the banking details or the credit limit. Now, this is how I've explained the deficiency. But the problem is what negative impact it will have. Imagine a clerk has intentionally changed the banking details or the billing details or the credit limit. As a result of that, company will be making incorrect invoicing. Company would be involved in fraudulent transactions. Even the company funds could be diverted into some other accounts. What if a clerk changed the banking details and eventually rather than the customer, that individual is getting paid? So this is how I will explain the deficiency. If the clerk is able to make changes in the customer master data file, there is a possibility that this could lead to a situation where customer data being amended accidentally or fraudulently. For example, the billing address or the credit limit. And as a result of that, company funds could be fraudulently diverted into some other accounts, or maybe company would end up making incorrect invoices to the customer. Now I have fully explained why is it a deficiency and what impact it will have on the business or on the company or on the company goals. Now I need to give the company a recommendation. The recommendation has to be directly attached with this risk. What's the problem with this deficiency? What's the deficiency? That the clerks can actually access the clerks can actually make changes in the master data file. But do not just rewrite the deficiency. Add some value. So the clerk should not be allowed to make any changes in the master data file. And any changes in the master data file should be allowed and restricted to a senior individual such as the manager, and that too at the end of the year all those changes should be reviewed by a senior director with the help of an exception report. Now that makes sense. Let's read my recommendation number 1. The data entry by the receivable clerk should be reviewed by a responsible official to ensure accuracy and that changes that are valid. This check should be evidenced by a digital signature. So if the clerk is going to make a lot of entries, okay, he is allowed to do so. If he's going to make any changes in the master data file, that should be highlighted and someone senior should make a review of it, so that if there is any change which is not appropriate, not according to the policy, not in the best interest of the company, that should be highlighted timely. So what will be the test of control? Well, I just recommended that all the entries processed by the clerk or any changes made by the clerk should be reviewed by a responsible official. And I said that responsible official should create an evidence by a digital signature. That is what I recommended, right? I will review the system. What's my test of control? Review the system. For what? And look for the digital signature of that responsible official. Make sure all the changes were actually reviewed by that responsible official along with the authorized signatures, just to confirm that actually each and every change was actually reviewed. So please try and understand whatever the deficiency is, exactly in line with that, you need to write the recommendation, and test of control is very much aligned with the control recommendation. So I recommended that a senior responsible official should review all the entries processed by the clerk, and any changes made by the clerk should also be reviewed by that responsible official, and he should create an evidence of the review by a digital signature. So now what will be the test of control? How would I know whether this control is operating? I will simply review the system, and I will look for all the changes, and I will confirm whether each and every change is supported by the signature of the responsible official, because only that way I will be sure that every change was actually reviewed by the senior official. So this is how we will this is about the first deficiency along with recommendation, along with test of control. Let's move forward. On a monthly basis, customer statements are produced and sent out. Now, guys, you need to have a practical exposure in order to understand this. So imagine I'm a company. Every month, I share a monthly statement to my customers that tells my customer that this is the amount they have, this is the business they did, this is the amount they paid during the year, and this is the outstanding balance. It's called the customer statement. So my client, I'm the auditor, my client, they sent out customer statements every month. Well done. No deficiency. But no further follow-up of outstanding debt is undertaken by the company's credit controller. Remember, half an hour ago, I told you the question will tell you they are not doing something. Question will automatically tell you that this is something not performed. So please read the question again. I will say, although customer statements are sent on a monthly basis, but no further follow-up of outstanding balance is executed. This is the deficiency. Without further follow-up, there is a huge possibility company will not realize the aged receivables, or they will not change their customers on a timely basis. Please bear in mind that if customers are not chased on a timely basis, if they are not reminded of the payment on a timely basis, any company, whether it's a big one, they can still end up facing a lot of bad debts. And as a result of that, they will face a loss of profitability, because those bad debts are always expense for the company. Now, don't just say all the debtors should be chased. Now, this is you just rewriting the deficiency. You need to add value while writing the recommendation. So all the debtors should be chased through a systematic approach. Timely reminders should be sent, and if any customer has crossed or breached their credit period, their credit limit should be reviewed, and uh, they should not be allowed to make any further purchases. That's a proper recommendation. So let's check out the solution. No further follow-up. Okay. Any system error or data, this increases the likelihood of errors and any disputed invoices or irrecoverable amounts not being quickly identified. So if you will not make any follow-up, there is a possibility that you will not identify and you will not resolve the errors. You will not resolve and identify the disputes. And more importantly, you will face a lot of bad debts. You will have a lot of irrecoverable balances. Please try and understand there is an objective behind sending customer statements, so that if there are unreconciled balances, if there are problems, customer is going to interact with you and you need to resolve them. And more importantly, you need to chase the age receivables. But you guys are doing nothing whatsoever. So the recommendation would be the credit controller should review the customer accounts with outstanding balances and identify invoices which are outside the normal credit terms. I mean to say, you need to spot those customers which have exceeded the credit period, and whole activity should be this whole activity should be evidenced in the form of signature, and any overdue invoices should be immediately discussed with the customer, and we need to resolve the disputes on a timely basis. So what would be the test of control? Simply, you can have a discussion with the credit controller and ask him that what steps they have undertaken with respect to those customers which have got an overdue balance. See his progress. Get to know what actions he has done, whether the credit limit is being reviewed, whether further business has been seized. So you need to have a discussion with the credit controller and need to know everything about it. Sir, could we say that receivables could be misstated? And yes, you can always say not only those bad debts will create loss of profitability for the company, but it will also create cash flow problems. But primarily, it will create loss of profitability because a bad debt is an expense which creates expense. Expense is a direct hit on profitability first, liquidity later. So if you will say that it will create loss of profitability for the company, that's sufficient. Okay, I'm done with two. Let's go for the third one with the yellow color. Each day, a finance clerk posts the bank transfer receipts from the bank statement to the bank ledger account. And the same guy updates the customer accounts. And the same clerk then performs the monthly bank reconciliation. My dear AA students, if you will put in a serious effort, if you will attend my top 10 CRQs relevant to the same, and if you will follow my drafting technique, and if you will practice the questions exactly what I taught during the lectures, after few questions, you will start connecting the dots and you will start enjoying the lectures, and you will realize that in an audit risk question, if examiner has asked you for 8 audit risks and there are 10 or 11 available in the solution, out of 11, 9 of them would be absolutely old and copy paste from some other questions. Similarly, what do you think? This third control deficiency, it's a dolly, it's a piece of cake. Why? Imagine you are an auditor and you are auditing Ahmed company, and you get to know that there is a clerk in Ahmed company. He is going to post the bank transfer receipt from the bank statement to the bank ledger, and the same guy is going to update the customer account. For a minute, I can absorb up to this point, but the same guy is going to perform the bank reconciliation. It becomes so convenient and easy for him to perform a fraudulent transaction. Even an error will go completely unnoticed. My recommendation would be, as a bare minimum, at least someone senior, someone not related to those activities should perform the bank reconciliation. And if there are any discrepancies or unreconciled items, those should be further investigated. And that reconciliation should be reviewed by someone else. And that review should be evidenced by the way of signature. Simply, what is going to be the test of control? If this bank reconciliation is performed on a monthly basis, I will simply select the bank reconciliation sample of monthly bank reconciliations. I will trace who performed the bank reconciliation. Has to be someone other than the clerk, and who actually reviewed it. Just this will confirm whether the control is operating effectively or not. So this is something which you guys have studied in so many other past paper questions which are available within the top 30. So let's see what the solution has to offer. This is a lack of segregation of duty. Now, if a student will say this is a lack of segregation of duty, that's not sufficient to score full mark. You need to write more. This is a lack of segregation of duty, but this is not good enough for scoring full mark. As a result of that, errors may go unnoticed. This also increases the risk of fraud. So this could also lead to inaccurate records, or losses or fraudulent activities may go undetected. So you need to explain why is it a deficiency. By just using the banner lack of segregation of duty, that's not enough to score mark. What would be the recommendation? Don't say this should be performed by different individuals. You need to explain these are the key roles which need to be split between at least two different individuals. If it is not possible to divide three activities among three individuals as a bare minimum, the bank reconciliation is one hell of a control. It should be undertaken by another member of the finance team. Review the file of the completed bank reconciliation to identify who prepared the bank reconciliation and who reviewed it. Make sure it's not the same guy who is performing or who's posting the bank transfer receipts from the bank statement. So I hope everyone is absolutely clear for the first three control deficiencies in relation to the sales system. The first one was about the clerk having access to the master data file, which could have unauthorized amendments. That second one was about no further follow-up in relation to the credit customer statements, which could lead to errors, disputes, and frauds completely going unnoticed, and it can actually lead to bad debts as well. The third one is about lack of segregation of duty. I think we are done with sales system. Guys, if you are absolutely well prepared for sales system, I'm sure you loved this particular portion of the question. For sales system, if you want one question completely focused on sales system, I would recommend you a question called Amberjack. By the way, this Amberjack question is not part of my top 10, but still I will recommend it. Amberjack, a complete question on sales system. It also includes 2 marks for the covering letter. These are very important things which I've just shared. So go and grab, say, Amberjack, and you will be in love with this question, and especially this part. Let's go for the last part of this question, which is about the HR. So probably it's about the payroll system. Now, if somebody wants to know few questions in relation to the payroll system, especially one question in relation to the payroll system, I would say Swift Company, and that is part of my top 10. Swift Company is a question exclusively on payroll. So go grab Swift Company, or if you want another question on payroll, because payroll is very important, slightly difficult. Okay, one more question would be BlackBerry is on audit risk. Raspberry. Raspberry is a question exclusively focused on payroll. So I'm recommending two questions on controls, Swift and Raspberry. If you have prepared those questions, again, these questions and lectures are available through the LMS. If you have prepared these questions, this is a piece of cake for you. During the busy periods, the company recruits temporary employees all around the globe. Companies are allowed to recruit temporary employees, no problem. During the busy periods, the company recruits temporary employees. No problem. I hope they are following the policies even while recruiting temporary employees. I hope so. During the busy periods, the company recruits temporary employees and joiner forms are not completed. That's a pain. If joiner forms are not completed, maybe company will not have good enough details and information in relation to the employees. As a result of that, there could be errors while making the payments. And instead, these appointments are processed by the production director, who informs the payroll department by email. It literally means that sufficient information or the desired important information will be missing with respect to those new joiners. This could result in temporary employees being set up in the payroll having incorrect or insufficient details. You might end up paying them incorrect amounts. You might end up calculating incorrect wages. More importantly, you might end up deducting incorrect statutory payments such as tax payments. And another important aspect, the production director needs no one. This also leads to a possibility of fraud. Production director can hire new joiners without incorporating HR. So basically, it's the absence of segregation of duty. There has to be a segregation of duty between HR and payroll. So HR is going to hire and they're going to add the employee, and the payroll can only process. So payroll production director can actually exploit the situation, and he can introduce fictitious employees. So this leads to a risk of fictitious employees being added, which is going to be a loss for the company. So what would be the recommendation? The payroll system should not allow any employee to be added without the unique employee number, and the unique employee number can only be produced or published or issued once HR has completed all the relevant information. So there has to be a breakdown between the HR and the payroll. There has to be segregation of duty between these two. So what would be the test of control? Simply select a sample of new employees or the temporary joiners, evaluate their file, make sure each and every employee has got a unique number, and each and every employee was only accommodated within the payroll once the unique employee number was issued by the HR. And definitely HR is only going to issue that once they've got all the information. So guys, I think this was a piece of cake, especially if you have prepared those questions which I've just recommended. So we are done with 4 and we need 6. So let's go for the initial part of the question, which is about inventory. The company undertakes continuous production 24 hours a day. That's all right. Raw materials will be transferred from the warehouse to the factory during the inventory count on 31st July so that the production can continue. Oh, that's the problem, right? So if the raw materials will be transferred from the warehouse to the factory, although at that point of time inventory count will be taking place, it means there is a huge possibility that some of the items at the inventory, what do we call inventory count? Yes, it's called the inventory count. So this is going to create a lot of problem. Why? Because some of the items might be missed at the time of counting, and some of the items might be counted twice because of the movement of goods between the warehouse and the factory. Trust me on that. This is the point which I have discussed on 5 occasions or more out of my top 30 questions. If there are movements on the stock count day, this could lead to some of the goods completely missed or some of the goods double counted. So as a result of that movement between the warehouse and the factory, there is a huge possibility that the year-end inventory records could be misstated. Well, my recommendation would be obviously it's not possible to stop the movement. The factory has to go on. But at least those raw materials which are required for a particular day, that is 31st July, should be estimated, and you need to put them on one side so that we can perform the stock count normally, and then we'll add that portion and we'll include and incorporate that portion. At least there is going to be no mixing. At least this eliminates the risk of some items not counted at all, and this eliminates the risk of some items counted twice. And what is going to be the test of control? During the inventory count, the audit team needs to observe whether there are sufficient controls over the transfer, whether they've got a dedicated area and dedicated stock which is restricted and limited for that particular day, whether everything is going as per the instructions. So this is a very, very, very common and a very important test of control along with deficiency. The requisition forms contain detail of the material required, but do not detail the current inventory levels. Imagine you guys are about to purchase certain items of raw material because you have received the requisition form, but you have got no clarity whatsoever that what is the current inventory level. What if current inventory level is already high? Then why the hell are you going to purchase that? So current inventory level must be evaluated before we actually make the new order or go for the new order, because orders are being placed without inventory levels being checked first. Well, if that is the case, there is a possibility that company might not place an order for a particular item, although the inventory levels are only on the very lower side. And on the contrary, company might end up ordering certain items which are already more than enough. So if the company is not going to fulfill or place the order, and if the company is not going to realize that the inventory levels are on a very lower side, there is a possibility that the company might face delays in production leading to unfulfilled customer orders. So what should be the recommendation? There has to be a minimum maximum level of inventory. The inventory system should be updated in such a way that there is a minimum level of inventory, there is a maximum level of inventory, and the requisition form should be amended and designed in a way that they always mention that this is the minimum level of inventory and this is the current level of inventory at the time of requisition form being raised. Simply select a sample of requisition forms which were completed during the year and identify whether those requisition forms actually mentioned the minimum and the maximum level of inventories along with the current level, and agreed with the inventory record whether that actual level of inventory is in line with the inventory record if it is possible. So this is another important control. Let's go for the, by the way, I'm done with 6. I don't need any more. So I'm done. We are done. Just check out one more on receipt of goods from supplier. Imagine supplier has delivered the goods. So the quantities received are checked. So you actually check the quantity by a warehouse assistant, but you only check the quantity against the supplier's delivery note. What is the deficiency over here? On receipt of goods from supplier, the quantities received are checked by the warehouse assistant. No problem with the warehouse assistant. Yes, the warehouse team is going to receive it, but they are going to check the quantity against the supplier's delivery note. What is the problem over here? One problem or two problems? One problem or two problems? Just write one or two. Once the goods are received, the quantity is checked against the delivery note. There are two problems. Problem number one, why you are not checking it? You are checking it against the delivery note. Why you are not checking it against the purchase order? What if you are receiving inferior quality, a quality which you did not order, a quantity which you did not order, a category of material which you did not order? So it could lead to all sorts of problems. What if insufficient quantity is being received? It is in line with the delivery note, but it is not in line with the purchase order. So it will create problems in the production, leading to unfulfilled orders. If it is inferior raw material, it could lead to problems in the production and the warranty claims. And more importantly, why you are not checking it against the quality? What if the grade of raw material which you have received from the supplier is not good enough, which could have all sorts of problem in production, leading to more and more customers being dissatisfied, leading to more and more warranty claims? So there are a couple of problems which need to be addressed. So this is it. This is a very, to be very honest, this is a very, very complicated question. This question has got straightforward bookish knowledge. This question has got substantive procedures. This question has got corporate governance. This question has got inventory system. This question has got sales system. This question has got payroll system. It's a September-December 2025 past paper question, a 30-mark question, which is exclusively available either through the ACCA practice platform or through my master file. And I will encourage and I will make sure that within the next week or so, my students will actually prepare the September-December 2025 paper. We already had one live session out of the same paper. Guys, is there anyone who's attending my lecture right now? Do you remember we had a live session approximately 1 month ago using the same September-December 2025 paper? Is there anyone? Anyone maybe, I hope so. If there is anyone. Do you remember anyone? Okay, I've got one yes. So one of, okay, I've got 3, 4 yes. Which question? Can you name the question? So I've got 5 students attending the session who are enrolled. Can you name the question? From same September, December 2025. I think it was the second live session for this quarter. Obviously, the question was not on controls because one paper can only have one question on control. This one is the control question. So I think it was the second live session because I think the first live session was about OT cases relevant to ethics and corporate governance using the BPP kit, because entire Kaplan and entire study hub is already available in terms of OT cases. Yes, that question was called Survival Solutions Company. So Survival Solutions Company is a question from September, December 2025. This Quirky company is a September, December 2025. And the third CRQ relevant to the same September, December 2025. I will be discussing that question over the next week. This is it from my side. Now I will answer any queries you have in the chat box. Otherwise, I need to take your leave. Guys, no, Pimento company is not, it's not from the same paper. Are you going to share the slides? I already shared everything. I already shared that master file, those drafted answer yesterday. Any specific question for inventory? Okay. Guys, is there anyone who, again, those 5 students who are already enrolled in my batch, guys, do you remember a question which we did approximately 5-10 days ago, and it was about inventory system? We did that in the live session. Anyone? Yes, I've got two confirmations. What was the name of that question? So approximately 1 week ago, or I don't know, 10 days ago, I don't exactly remember, before the AAA webinars, we had a live session about control systems, and we did a question exclusively on inventory system. And the name of that question is Silver Company. It is part of my top 10. So that's it. Sir, can you please explain key matter paragraph? Key matter paragraph or key audit matter paragraph. So it's called CAMS, key audit matter, not key matter. Can you recommend specific CRQ for non-current asset? Within my top 10 CRQs, there are at least 3 to 4 CRQs which are relevant to non-current asset. Still, if you are interested in more details, go and attend my lecture, Substantive Procedure Knockout Punch 3 and Knockout Punch 4. In Knockout Punch 3 and 4, I've covered every aspect of non-current asset. I'm talking about the tangible non-current assets. The revaluation model, the cost model, and the past paper question. The finance director has decided to change the useful life, depreciation, everything. If you want to know more about the intangible asset, in the next week, I will have a live session on substantive procedures, only focusing on intangible assets. Yes, we discuss disposal as well, additions as well. Additions, disposal, change from cost model to revaluation model, depreciation. Everything is covered in the substantive procedure knockout punches, along with past paper questions. Okay, so far I've answered all your queries. So do we recommend the auditor's response to management as a control recommendation? I did not understand your question. Please rewrite it in some other words. So okay, thank you very much. So I have got one question which is unanswered as yet, and it's about key audit matter paragraph. So that makes me go towards the audit report, which is, to be very honest, my all-time favorite topic in AA and even in AAA as well. Guys, there are, please concentrate. I just need your 5 minutes. These are very valuable 5 minutes. There are 3 paragraphs which an auditor can use within the audit report. One of the three, two out of the three, or three out of the three. Any one or any two or all three. These three paragraphs are not your normal audit report paragraphs, and these paragraphs are called additional. That is why they are extra, right? These are called additional communication paragraphs. So additional communication paragraph means a paragraph which is not part of the ordinary or the standard audit report. These are additional communication paragraphs, and these paragraphs have got two important aspects. A, these are additional communication paragraphs. That is why when an auditor incorporates any one of them or all of them, the report is considered as a modified audit report. But mind you, additional communication paragraph has got nothing to do with the audit opinion. So if I will incorporate an additional communication paragraph in my audit report, it will not modify the audit opinion. So I will say it's an modified audit report because I've added the additional communication paragraph, but without modifying the audit opinion. Additional communication paragraph will modify the audit report without modifying the audit opinion. Please repeat it at least 3 times. Additional communication paragraph, which there are 3 options. So those 3, let's repeat. There are 3 additional communication paragraphs which will modify the audit report because they are additional, but it will not modify the audit opinion. Now the question is, what are the names of those 3 additional communication paragraphs? Well, the names are MURGC paragraph, material uncertainty related to going concern. Number 2, emphasis of matter paragraph. Number 3, other matter paragraph. One thing is common among these 3 paragraphs. In fact, 2 things are common. Number 1, all of them are additional communication paragraphs. Number 2, none of them will modify the audit opinion. You already know that, are you? Number 3, all of them will highlight or emphasize something. Material uncertainty related to going concern paragraph will highlight a disclosure related to going concern, which is about some uncertainty. So an uncertainty in relation to going concern, which is correctly emphasized or highlighted by the client. I just want to highlight that particular uncertainty. I just want to highlight that particular disclosure made by the client. So when I will use that paragraph, as a result of that, the report will be considered modified, but I'm not discussing any misstatement, so the opinion will remain unmodified. Emphasis of matter paragraph will highlight something else other than the going concern, which is important, correctly accounted for and disclosed by the client. So I will highlight that disclosure, but it has got nothing to do with going concern. So that's your emphasis of matter paragraph. It's more or less the same. It's just that for going concern disclosure, it's the MURGC paragraph. For any other thing, it's the emphasis of matter paragraph. Now the third and the final case. If an auditor wants to highlight something which has got nothing to do with the going concern disclosure, which is something not available as a disclosure in the financial statement, something else, an upcoming accounting standard, some changes in laws and regulation, something else, the auditor will use other matter paragraph. These 3 paragraphs are not part of the standard audit report. That is why these are called additional communication paragraphs, and they will modify the audit report without modifying the audit opinion. Now, please listen to me. There is another paragraph which is not considered as an additional communication paragraph, and it's called key audit matter paragraph. The name speaks for itself. Key, it means very, 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 very important. But audit matter means something which was valuable for the auditor, something which was important for the sake of audit or during the audit. So key audit matter paragraph is a normal or routine or a mandatory paragraph when it comes to the audit of listed companies. For an audit of unlisted company, an auditor can skip the key audit meta paragraph if the audit firm wants to. But it's a mandatory paragraph for listed companies. Key audit meta paragraph will reveal that during the audit, what matters were most significant, why they were so risky, how the auditor designed different strategies and procedures, what procedures were applied, and how conclusions were reached. So, key audit meta paragraph, again, it will not discuss a misstatement, it will not modify the audit report, but it is something which will increase the understanding of the shareholders and all the users of the audit report. It is not an additional communication paragraph. It will highlight the significant risk and how it was resolved by the auditor. Sir, are only resolved most, yes. If something was not resolved, if something is a dispute between the auditor and the client, that is a misstatement. That will not be discussed in CAM. That will be probably it will lead to a misstatement. So it will go in the basis for qualified opinion paragraph. So resolved issue, yes. Guys, this was a flavor of audit report. 99% of the AA failures tend to fail the section A of the exam. 99% of the AA students tend to face syllabus area E completion review and reporting in the section A of the exam, and they eventually fail the syllabus area E according to my exam performance report. So please pay respect. Uh, yes, yes, Palak, automatically we will be covering syllabus area E along with D. I always discuss D and E simultaneously because the exam question is going to be simultaneously. So guys, thank you very much for your active participation. Double A is not the end of the world. You still have got good enough days to crack the paper in flying colors. You don't need an extraordinary weekend. You need disciplined days throughout the week. If that has to happen, revision batch and revision plan is the perfect opportunity. Please go and grab the revision batch, follow the instructions, trust the process, and last but surely not the least, make sure your mock is marked by an expert tutor instead of just getting total marks, instead of just getting some generic comments. Go and grab the real mock, which will make you pass the final exam. So I really hope so that with the help of last night's effort followed by tonight, I have delivered good enough motivation. I've delivered good enough, positive vibes. So this was me doing a little effort from my side. So I really hope so you were you're happy, you're feeling confident, and I'm sure that you will spread good words and good uh, uh, you will spread the message in kind words in relation to these lectures. And I can assure you that these are the flavors. Consider it as an appetizer, and the main course is available through the VIFHE LMS. So wishing you all the best for your AA exam. Not only for your AA exam, good luck for the rest of the ACCA journey. I wish to see you all sooner than soon in the AAA. So good luck. Go for the advanced audit and assurance. Go for the ACCA membership. Make yourself proud and spread love. Thank you very much. Is it possible to pass AA only with 20 days available? The answer is absolutely yes. Just focus on my revision batch, which includes top 30 and the section A. Good luck and thank you very much for your kind words, everyone out there. I'm loving it. Thank you very much. Thank you and stay blessed. And I wish you all the good luck for your ACCA journey. And please spread the positivity. Bye bye and stay disciplined. And if there is anyone who wish to join my batch for the June 2026, it's about the revision course. I think, post the link in the chat box earlier on. You can always join my batch or you can always reach out to me. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. Good night. If you want to join, Palak, don't contact the admission department. Simply, the simple way is just go for the admission, go for the direct link. There is a link which I shared in the chat box earlier on. You just need to click on that link and you can join the batch. Somebody, can you please do me a favor? If you can copy paste that same link and post it all over again in the chat box, that will be so nice of you. Any other question or concern from anyone? If there is anyone who has got any doubt in relation to the revision batch or in relation to anything, you are more than welcome to contact me through the WhatsApp. I am always available through the WhatsApp and Instagram. Take care. Bye bye.